Quilty is brought to you by
Baby Lock. Baby Lock sewing and long arm machines. From piecing to long arming for the love of sewing. Aurifil. Aurifil Italian thread. Perfectly suited for all your quilting projects. Dear Stella. A unique fabric brand with modern style. Fairfield. Together, we can make beautiful things. Hovels Sewing. Cut to the point with Hovels Sewing. Moda. Make something quilty with Moda fabrics. Northcott. Cottons that feel like silk. Omnigrid. Providing quilters with specialty rulers and accessories for over 30 years. Mom, what a fantastic book you have in your hands. Do tell me, what's it all about?
It's so cute.
So cute.
It's so dear. It's Dear Quilty.
Dear Quilty. And we have this is just out, and if you love Quilty and you love Quilty magazine,
it's a must-have.
It's a must-have. Now, Quilty magazine is now over, but the show's going strong, and this book is a sort of a record of the first era of Quilty, and it's just, I mean, I can't go through it all and how great it is, but it's interviews. More than the interviews, it's great patterns. Some of my favorite patterns. Yes. I picked them from the issues of Quilty magazine. We've got tips, demos, how-tos, so much great stuff for the beginner and any quilter really. But that's my segue into the show today. Mom, I asked you to come on the show to talk about what you, Marianne Fons, expert quilter, national treasure, what would you tell the new quilter?
Well, first of all, I have a disclaimer because, I don't really like giving advice to people. Unless they actually ask for it. I think people have to kind of learn from themselves, for themselves. But when I'm asked for advice, I usually say, these are things that have worked for me. So I'm telling you what has worked for me, and I have three kinds of advice. One is, we have them down here, help a non-quilter make just one quilt.
Tell me more.
Okay. The best way to do it is to I call it taking one person under your wings.
Okay.
Because you might not think that's the way to teach someone to quilt. I mean, you might send them off to a class or something, but it's great to work one-on-one. So you take that person under your wings. You need to fund their project. Not everybody can do that, but it's kind of daunting. Mm-hmm. So let them choose their fabric. You pay for it if you can. I mean, this is the way to make it work because they're daunted.
Or let them shop your stash.
Let them shop your stash.
If you've got a big stash,
yes.
You can just let them go.
Let them pick the project. Mm-hmm. You cut it out because people are scared of cutting out. Yes. So you cut it out. Clean your sewing machine. Make sure there's a design wall of some kind, and then you teach them to do the 1/4 inch seam. And in Dear Quilty, there is how to give them the 1/4 inch seam test. It's an easy test so that their patchwork is always accurate forever.
And actually this tip, I should have framed it a little bit differently because you're speaking to a quilter who knows what she's doing, who's working with a beginner. I mean, that's evident, but I just wanted to say that piece of advice is, hey, you know how to quilt. How are you going to help a new quilter?
Yes, and if you're a beginner, if you know a quilter, try to work this into where they can help you one-on-one. And it's so much fun.
Hustle them.
I have two rookies under my wings right now. I mean, one rookie got the other rookie, her friend, and so I have them on 2 sewing machines. So you want them to use your sewing machine because you don't want their sewing machine because it could break.
Yes.
And you don't know how to fix it. You want your sewing machine. So I'm kind of speaking to the coach quilters.
Maybe you don't have a sewing machine. Maybe the beginner doesn't have one yet.
Right. And you can guide them. And then what the main thing is, let that rookie make all the blocks and put them up in front. And they're amazed. And then see it through all the way to the binding.
That's great.
Okay? So this is kind of advice for quilters to help bring others into our fold.
Great, that makes sense. So advice for beginners through a teacher helping. Okay, tip number 2 or lesson number 2.
My advice, this is practical advice, is to practice responsible thread management when doing patchwork. And this is so that you don't have threads all over your house, all over your socks, all over your clothes, and you don't waste thread. Because, we like really quality, expensive thread. We don't want to waste it.
Aurifil, recommended.
Yes. Stock up on neutral thread. So use neutral on everything.
Yeah.
Fill a bunch of bobbins before you head into this love affair you may have with the quilt you're working on.
True.
I have little trash bags everywhere so I can throw it because I'm a neatnik and so are you. And it's just, the main thing is not for the neatness. It's so I don't have another job later, which is cleaning up. It's to avoid the cleaning up.
It reminds me of something you say too, we say together now, is that we don't tell you, keep tidy, go slowly, make sure you're cutting accurately. We don't tell you that because we're the quilt police or because we're like OCD, it makes what you're doing way more fun.
Right.
If you're not cutting things wrong and then fudging it, and then you're cleaning threads off everywhere, or if you're snipping dog ears, snip them into a little bag, because otherwise you have to vacuum every time you sew. Bad. We don't want to do that.
Right, and if you're sending your quilt to long armor, which I often am, I want my top to be really neat out of respect for her, so I want to clip threads, and I don't want to spend it. How boring is it to spend 2 hours getting it ready? Do it as you go.
And one more thing about the long armor too. If you treat your long armor well, your long armor will treat you well.
Yes.
And if you have a clean quilt to send her, if you need something fast, she's way more apt to say yes.
If you're not the person that is always bringing her a messy top.
Yeah, because then she has to do, she can just put it on the frame and go. Yeah.
And then chain piecing. And of course, our sewing machines, I'm not sure if the one we have here, but if you have a thread cutter on your machine.
Oh, it does.
It saves a lot of threads. I mean, it's like your pre-vacuum cleaner.
We have a new soprano on the set.
Oh, boy.
Hot off the press. It isn't even out yet while we're taping this, but it will be.
Okay,
now-
last. Okay, this one is my favorite. Think of each quilt you make as a love affair. I don't believe in being with 2 quilts at one time.
Ooh.
I think you make a quilt sequentially.
You said monogamous. You're a serial monogamous?
A serial monogamous quilter. I am. And, I have passion for that quilt when I'm making it.
What does that make me? I want things going all the time.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Yikes.
I want to be with that quilt when I start making it. I want to be with that quilt. Often I go in, I shut the door, and I'm working on that quilt. I mean, it's just a metaphor.
The metaphor?
Throw your whole self into it. And also, if it's not working, dump it. Also, and last, is avoid alcohol within reason when you're involved in this relationship with that quilt.
I think we can all understand what you're talking about. But I just want to say my mom gets better with age. You get better and funnier. Heather, am I right? I mean, this is like, and we can't do this on Love of Quilting. That's why you got to watch Quilty all the time. No, it's a great...
I have no more to say.
And that's the other thing. Don't kiss and tell. Mom, great advice, really. We have fun, but there's a lot of content in here that you can take with you and use. Wow.
I could come up with more if you want me to.
That's okay. That's why. I'm kidding. Thanks for watching Quilty.
Practice safe quilting.
Practice safe quilting. It's true. Wear your klutz glove and goggles. Bye.
Quilty is brought to you by
Baby Lock. Baby Lock sewing and long arm machines. From piecing to long arming for the love of sewing. Aurifil. Aurifil Italian thread. Perfectly suited for all your quilting projects. Dear Stella. A unique fabric brand with modern style. Fairfield. Together, we can make beautiful things. Hovels Sewing. Cut to the point with Hovels Sewing. Moda. Make something quilty with Moda fabrics. Northcott. Cottons that feel like silk. Omnigrid. Providing quilters with specialty rulers and accessories for over 30 years.